Welcome back to In the Shop, the video series that gives you an inside look at the trusted partners and breakthrough solutions featured in the shop. In each episode, we introduce you to the innovators helping dealerships sell more, service better, and work smarter. Whether you're looking to streamline workflows or drive profitability or enhance the customer experience or maybe find better staffing and hiring solutions, you're going to find all those powerful tools and ideas right here in the shop. Today, I am joined by John Fruhmorgen. He's the owner and operator at StaffYourDealer. And as much as I really want to talk to him about what it was like to play football at the University of Alabama and then for the Miami Dolphins, yes, he's actually here to help dealers rethink hiring and staffing tools, how to address hiring challenges, and the unique benefits available to Ford and Lincoln dealerships. So let's kick off another great conversation in the shop. How are you today, John?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, we're excited for this conversation. I didn't butcher your last name, did I?
No, you actually did well. You even silent the H, so that was good.
Okay. Well, we can talk football at another time. And you and I got a chance to meet each other this year at NADA and had a little bit of that dialogue. And I just find that to be fascinating. And I wonder if there's maybe a tie in here to the first thing, or maybe one of the first questions that I'm going to ask. The first thing, though, that I always like to ask so that the dealer audience kind of gets the beginning is, what is StaffYourDealer?
We're I trying to get away from the word recruiting firm, if you will, because we've actually kind of tied things into now being more of a technology infrastructure that we put into the dealership's platform in terms of getting away from paper resumes, more into video interviews, which seems to be built for speed, and it kind of helps us set ourselves apart in terms of what others are doing.
I mean, video just continues to explode. It has been for years and years and years. And what a smart concept to think about bringing it into that part of the business. Well, how did you end up getting started with StaffYourDealer? What ultimately led to you creating it?
Well, I guess I'll tie in the football end of it, if you will. So back in the day, played briefly in the NFL, got hurt. So big guys either got thrown into the insurance business or the car business. So I got thrown into the car business, and, like most of the dealers out there or people that are in the industry, started either washing cars or actually selling cars. And that's what I did down here in Florida, worked my way up to management, et cetera. And then from there, about 20 years into it, my kids were actually starting to participate in sports. I was at a dealership about an hour and a half away. I want to get back to Tampa. So I try to get an exit package of, getting back to Tampa. So I came up with a company called On-Lot Web Solutions. And at the time, basically I was trying to optimize and make websites for dealers more efficient, if you will. Because back in the day, as you remember, they were terrible. Coming soon, under construction, not available. So I wanted to take the websites and basically convert them to areas where people could come and have conversion, if you will, which would be, getting people to apply to them and capturing their information. So anyway, I did that. I was and it was just more of a consulting type deal at the time. I was at a dealership in Gainesville, Florida. The GM walks out as I'm leaving and says, "John, I need salespeople. Do you know of any companies that do that?" I'm like, "No, not really." And so when I left, I'm in my car thinking I could probably put that together. So I looked around, trying to copycat something that was out there. But back when it started recruiting for car dealerships, the process was basically run an ad in the paper, do not call, do not email, apply in person type of career fair, the way they had it set up. I really didn't want to do that, run an ad in the paper and be like everybody else. So what I ended up doing, and I started it, I developed a website where people could register and come to the interview more efficiently, basically by, capturing their information, but then reaching back out to them, engagement with them. So the first time I did an event, I was nervous, like no one was going to show up. In 2 days, we had like 62 people show up. We ended up hiring 8 people, training them. And it was like off and running, but that's what everybody was kind of doing at the time. It's different in today's world, obviously. So from there, what I did, I reached out to a dealer in Asheville, North Carolina, where I wanted to do the same type of process, but I didn't want to show up. I wanted them to run the event. And I'm thinking, let's just try it, right? Again, I did the website, drove people there. They showed up. They hired 4 people. They had 30-something people show. So then I'm thinking, maybe we're on to something. So I said, let's go to NADA as an exhibitor. So the funny story on that, so the year I went, they had the heavy truck, Freightliners and Mack was in one annex and the car dealers were in the other. And so when I get there, they had me in the truck section, the wrong section. To top that, all my kits got lost. So I'm running around. I go to Kinko's, I get a table mat, I get cards, I get brochure, I was panicking. So I was depressed. I'm sitting in this truck section and a gentleman from a large auto group that was a competitor of mine back in Tampa came by and says, John, I said, I apologize about the booth. He says, I don't care about that. What are we doing? And tell him we're staffing, we're recruiting. He said, can you have a meeting with the GMs? I said, no problems. And we've been doing that for 15 years since. So,
Wow.
but as we went, it was just a learning process from there. So we were doing these career fairs, building these websites, and kind of doing what Hireology and Indeed and ZipRecruiter do now, producing resumes and forwarding it to the dealers. That was the deal. But when COVID hit, we turned this in, we flipped the switch and turned this into a video interview platform. So, so that's how we're doing things today. And it's just been a world of difference because everybody looks good on paper, if you will.
Yeah.
And, how many times as dealers out there, they brought somebody in, they either no-showed or they sat with them for 30 minutes just to find out they're not a fit. Where with our platform, you can watch 3 to 4 candidates in the same time frame, right? So that's the biggest difference is I think that our company offers, it's built for speed to hire, which is important.
I like that you were innovative during a period that was challenging for everybody, but in COVID, it was a blessing and a curse. Sounds like
No, exactly. Exactly.
Push you into a new way of innovating what value you're delivering to dealers. Well, let me ask you this: how do you guys, with the video interview platform, how does it really differ from your traditional hiring tools? Are there other things beyond just, is the main thing resume paper versus, hey, this is fully animated video now, and is that the main thing? Or are there other kind of attributes that you?
No, that's a great question. So I think the fact that we're not a marketing or advertising company helps out. We're actually car people, so we've been on that side of the desk, understanding pain points, understanding challenges. And so that's first of all. But what happens is the first thing that we do and what sets us apart, kind of walking you through it, is we consult with the dealer and try to figure out what they're doing now. Well, I know that most of them are with Indeed, ZipRecruiter, or Hireology, which is a resume, thumbing through resume process. So it's perfect when they tell us that, because we collaborate with that and how we're going to convert that to the video platform for them. So, the way we do that is we build them an employment video website. Okay. And we also then assign a personal account executive to that deal. So this is someone that's with them all the time. They have their cell numbers, they're communicating. Because I know back in the day when I was in the business, that is probably the least, I mean, the communication is just something that's critical, you know? And I was just
Yeah.
talking to my assistant yesterday about, you can't call someone at Zoom. You can't call someone at Stripe. You can't call somebody, let
Yeah.
alone that. So the communication with the dealers, I think, is key. Our platform also encompasses all the advertising. It's included in what we do, um, and it's all flat rate. And basically, with the Ford and Lincoln dealers, it goes through their part statement. So it's a full service platform, Sean. So what happens from our end is, again, it's built for speed to hire. So what happens, we do the same thing that dealers are doing now. We advertise with Indeed and ZipRecruiter, but the difference is we drive them into a video interview. We invite them. So even from the candidate standpoint, it's a great experience. Whether they're qualified or not, we're representing the dealer. They're getting answered, if you will. So how many
Hmm.
times you throw your resume out there, nobody's answering that resume. Either
Right.
they're thumbing through them, they're qualifying them, they're putting them in the trash. With us, from you know, we represent ourselves as part of the hiring team, and they're getting answered no matter what, and they're getting driven to an interview link. So one of the coolest things that we do is moments after the interview is conducted, we vet that candidate. And from there, when it goes into the dealership's website, they get an instant notification where they can view it on their cell phone or desktop moments after the interview took place. It's crazy. We had a dealer in the airport, and his finance manager quit. It's on a Saturday morning.
Yikes.
He hits the button on his website, which you can order campaigns on there as well. We get it up within hours. He had a same day interview on that, which was, I'm talking about a video interview that's scripted, and the people
Yeah.
that are applying for his dealership. They know where they're
Yeah.
applying. It's not like just something we're plucking here and there. So that was pretty cool
Yeah.
because he didn't hire the guy, but we got the campaign rolling, and they ended up getting somebody, but the same day, so it was like within hours of applying, or, wanting a finance manager, he ended up getting the same day interview on a cell phone during
That's
travel. So
fantastic. And it immediately is making me think of, I'm sure just like you, a large majority, especially of business connections of mine are in the automotive industry, including a lot in retail. And I'm sure you see this too, but people are on LinkedIn and on Facebook, especially those two environments where they're, hey, if you know anybody's looking for a great F&I guy, or if you're looking for a great general manager, so-and-so's looking for this, I highly recommend them, or some variation of that. I see a few of those every month. And what you're sharing right here would be like, you should have Staff Your Dealer as a service, because it would be tremendously helpful for all those connection points. I want to ask you a little bit of something here, because we're making this content for Ford and Lincoln dealers here in the shop. Working with the shop and through Ford Directs the shop, are there advantages, some things that are unique in terms of benefits for the Ford and Lincoln dealers that they need to know about?
yeah, the first thing I would tell you, I think it's important for dealers to realize, and principals and GMs, that we pass Ford Direct's vetting process, which includes performance, compliance, integration. It's important to know that, because now we're looked at more like a trusted solution, if you will, not so much as a vendor, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You know,
Right.
but what
Yeah.
the dealers get, we're in the process now of converting dealers nationwide, basically converting their paper resume process. Everybody looks good on paper, right? So it's when you get to see somebody and their personality and the way they talk and they handle themselves, it's a world of difference. And it- it's just a time deal. But for what Ford and Lincoln dealers get from us is they get a complimentary dealership website built for them, a video interview website, if you will.
Hmm.
And then they have an account executive that gets assigned to them. So there's no charge on any of this stuff. So when they run a campaign, everything's flat rate, and it's based on the positions. We do anything from cashiers, receptionists, all the way up to GMs. But what it is, it's also unlimited hires. So when they do a sales campaign, uh, it's unlimited hires. It's not pay per hire. Um, and then the other thing too that they get is everything is seamless. It becomes full service. So typically what dealerships do, and I can just tell you from experience, they sign up with Indeed or ZipRecruiter. And the other thing that people don't realize is a lot of these dealers, the principals and GMs that we talk to, they think cost wise, like Indeed just runs $300-400 to run a campaign. That's
Yeah.
not true. Okay. Because it's a pay per click deal. And the average, I think I looked up last week, was like $11.50 to run an individual Indeed campaign, if you will. So a little bit about, everything's included with our deal. But what happens is the biggest thing that happens with the paper resume platform is it gets assigned to either an HR person, and they do a good job. They get the resumes, right? The hierologies of the world, the Indeed, the Zips. But that's where the process breaks down, Sean. What happens from that end, they're the busiest guys sometimes, they're putting out heat cases, they're working car deals. They're not prioritizing calling, Joe Smith, or they're playing phone tag with Joe Smith, or they're looking at the resume and the guy worked at Cracker Barrel. He's not interested in making a phone call, where sometimes these people turn out to be our best salespeople, right? So
Right.
I think from our end, we offer that full service for the dealerships from the beginning to the end. All invoicing goes through the part statement. So it's not even a matter of that. It's just a whole full service deal, if you will. And huge difference. And dealers that we've signed up since we got launched at NADA, tremendously happy with it. And, selfishly, we want to be the go-to for all their positions. And
Sure.
so
Why
we
wouldn't you?
really take
Yeah.
pride in the communication with our account executives. They own these deals. They're
Hmm.
constantly talking to them, or the HR person, or the recruiter, or the trainer at the dealer, or the
Hmm.
GMs even are sometimes involved.
Well, that's really smart because in retail automotive, there's been a big miss when there's a layer of technology that's basically being sold to the dealers, where there isn't a service layer to help them get the most out of whatever the technical piece is. And for you to have an assigned account executive on each of these, now they're not missing that layer, and that's a very important layer. And you you actually mentioned it a few minutes ago. You can't. I wanted to give another example because I've had one recently where I need to talk to a person. Like, I need a service support person. And it was one of these tech platforms. Nope, not going to happen. Like, that is just, to chat with our chat bot, burn a bunch of your time there until it gets frustrated and can't answer your questions. And then finally, maybe you get to a person, and it's a frustrating experience. And there are people that want to bring more and more of that into automotive. I don't know about that. I don't think consumers want to have an experience like that when they really need to talk to somebody at a dealership. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about something kind of current, like the urgency around hiring technician hiring. It feels like technician hiring has actually been a struggle for a little while now, but it hasn't gone away. How is Staff Your Dealer addressing this particular challenge differently, maybe than what people are doing
That's,
traditionally?
that's a great question. So it's almost an epidemic, Sean, with these
Mm,
techs. It's
yeah.
craziness. And, you know, we've got over 85 dealers this month looking for techs. So it's craziness. So I will tell you this, and there's no magic wand. I wish there was, but there's not. But what we do different, I'll kind of lay it out for you. So what happens with most dealers that sign up with Indeed or ZipRecruiter, it goes out around a 25 to 50 mile radius. when they're looking for, technicians in their marketplace. And, it does what it's supposed to do with resumes. But as dealers know, the good ones are working. They're not sitting at home watching Jerry Springer. Okay. They're working. And so it's tough. So what we do and what sets us apart, we throw the cast net out there nationally. And so what does that mean? So we have a dealer in Dallas, Texas, leading techs. When we throw that cast net out there, the person that applies from Ohio, they know where the job's at. They know it's in Dallas, Texas. And now, as far as being qualified, that's another story. Okay. But they'll either come to the interview. We ask the scripted questions. What's your tool situation? Any ASEs? But a lot of techs are shy of the camera, Sean. So what we do the same as Hireology. We get the resumes that they apply to from Indeed and ZipRecruiter all in one. And they too will get alerts on their cell phone. Someone has just put their resume online for your job nationally. Now, the problem that we see, unfortunately, it's common. There's no game plan with these dealerships a lot of times where they need techs, they need to be all in. Just like you just previously said, if you find a good Volvo master tech, let us know. Well, that doesn't happen. Okay. Right. So you got to get a game plan on how to recruit them. So what we do is we have a conversation with the dealer in terms of being able to classify these resumes and offer a type of relocation package. So the real impact here is speed, right? So the relocation package, and to expand on that a little bit, a lot of the service directors, they look at this as an expenditure, and it's not. They look at it, $20,000, and the typical answer you get with these companies, because we ask them, what are you doing now? How are you recruiting now? And the answer is, well, we're offering a $10,000 signing bonus. Well, that doesn't cut it. Like that's even part of it, So there's more important things as far as these relocation package recommendations, should I say. We're not telling them how to do their business, but, we're talking about, yes, a signing bonus, a relocation assistance, the tool transport. Some of these toolboxes are $250,000, right? And then one of the biggest things that I feel is the housing, offering housing, temporary housing, because what happens is these empty bays average between $20,000 and $40,000 a month of losing revenue, or you could call it $800 to $1,500 a day. So make that investment and do it in an Airbnb or a Motel 8 or whatever. They instantly start working, if that makes any sense. They're not, and they're getting their money back, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's got to be the technician deal has got to be a collaboration. It's not, we're not just going to wave a wand and here you go. So
there's no silver bullets.
There is none. And we've got some great operators.
It makes sense that especially in that role, that there's a lot of collaboration with the store. And you are 100% right about the consequences of not getting it right and having a service bay just sitting, like not being utilized. That's just a profitability leak, a big one. But a lot of dealers don't recognize the fact that when that's going on, they're also affecting the reputation of the store. People are keeping their cars longer, and they need service departments to be reliable and fully staffed. So the dealership could, yes, not only be losing profit by not having somebody like StaffYourDealer to try to actually get that speed working for you of getting replacements, high quality people, but their reputation could be taking a hit at the same time, because, you see these people who will drop reviews on a Google business profile because they came in expecting, and they made an appointment for an oil change. They should be in and out of the dealership in an hour at the most,
right?
Especially if they had an appointment and they were there for half a day for their oil change. That's how you lose people. And they say they will actually be motivated to say bad things about you just because you don't have the right solutions to get those people back in. So that's just me, I guess, giving another
No,
pointer to the
it's
dealers. Like,
definitely true, and it's funny because there's dealerships that are open 24/7 in service now because they're backed up,
yes,
and I see
yeah,
some
remote
Amazon.
service,
There's
drop,
Amazon
pick up
hubs.
and drop off. Yeah,
There's like Amazon that work overnight and near these dealerships that are smart. They're staying open,
yeah,
and it's one of the deals where most dealerships they run what they call units in operation. So the front end of it, selling cars, is what they want to do is get the units out there so they can service the cars. That's where the,
mm,
the, the money is and the income. But the technician deal, it's tough, man. It's been a challenge for a lot of dealers. And again, we don't have the total solution by no means, but it's really comes into communicating on who's the other side of it, who's championing the deal at the dealership, right? Who is on the other side reaching out to these people? Who's doing a phone interview about their skill sets? Because
yeah,
again, everybody looks good on paper, even with the text, right? So they have certain
yeah,
capabilities that they don't show on paper or on an interview. You can imagine they're all not all teed up in suits interviewing for a technician job. So you got to
right.
kind of look past that, as well as, sometimes their paper doesn't match up their capabilities, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, I think
that's
if I were a dealer, I wouldn't with a company like yours, I wouldn't be expecting perfection. There's a lot of different services and products out there that there is no perfection that is there to be achieved. But could I significantly, maybe I should say, dramatically improve what I do today and see immediate return on that? What you're describing in this conversation is exactly that. And I'm a dealer. I'm like, I'm not looking for perfection, but can I actually make a huge leap forward that has to do with my profitability, my service retention, my reputation? That's just what we were talking about around techs. But on the other side, can I just speed up the process of getting high quality people, the ones that are going to represent our brand as a salesperson or whatever roles you're chasing? Can I significantly, dramatically improve what I do today with your service? And it seems like you just keep checking these boxes. I've got a couple more questions for you. Um, One, it sounds like you maybe wanted to jump in on that, so I don't want to cut you off.
well, no, I was just going to say it's just it really comes down to communication. But and it's funny. One thing I didn't mention that we do with the advertising side of this is we collaborate with the dealer, the message, if you will. Like, why do I want to
Mm,
work for you? We just
yeah.
recently, Royal Oak out of the Dearborn, needed to replace their service director who's been there for over 35 years, and he
Whew.
helped onboard the new person that we got hired for him. So it was kind of cool. But I think, the message that the advertising runs through, which when we collaborate with these dealerships, why do I want to work for you? What are some bullet points? What are we trying to accomplish? Pay ranges. That's important too. We're not just throwing out some ad out there. Now, and I say that to you because we have found some big time people for dealerships that are moving across country, et cetera. But it's got to be a whole team effort, if you will, without sounding hokey
Mhm.
to you. And that's
Yeah.
where and guys that are in the business, they know this. It's about people and process. And
Yes.
without sounding hokey to you, I take that back from my athletic days too.
Yeah.
It's about people and process. And that's what it boils down to. And that goes in almost any business, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're only as good as our weak link. So it's one of those deals where they have to understand. I've told dealers before, don't even spend money if you're not interested in participating. I'm not going to
Yeah.
find you a Volvo Master Tech by just
Yeah.
paying us money.
I've said for many years to dealers on almost everything that you're investing in to be the best operator that you can, especially in the digital era. The digital type of companies and services are content. In fact, they probably prefer for the dealer to be in the mindset of constantly asking the vendor, is it working? Is it working? And I've been telling dealers for at least the last 15 years, that's the wrong question. The right question is, are we working it? You are paying for some sort of service or some sort of product, or you are paying for lots of services and products. how are you working all of those things? Because if you don't actually put your shoulder to the wheel, if you don't lean into it,
No.
it is not going to do what you hope it will do, at least not to the level of achievement that it's capable of. And so I love that you've mentioned that a few times because it's true. If you want to get the best out of an investment, well, how about actually put your right foot in, don't put your right foot out. Just put your right foot in and do the hokey pokey. Stay there and do the whole
Right,
thing.
right,
Like
right.
get involved and stay involved, and you will be really pleasantly surprised at the results
It's
because of
funny
that.
you said that because we do have dealers that are unbelievable great operators. I mean, I've got a dealer in Lakeland, Florida. He interviews everybody that works for him. Got over 400 employees, and he's awesome. And then I have others, obviously, but what happens is the fish don't rot far from the head, right? So it's one of those
Yeah.
deals where you've got to get involved.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's talk about this. What impact we've talked about speed quite a bit. What impact does this faster hiring have on dealership performance and fixed ops revenue? Like, what does it truly mean when you guys say, Staff Your Dealer says it's built for speed compared to traditional job boards?
Well,
Talk to me a little bit more about
it
that.
gets back to, talking about these empty bays or the need for fixed op people, whether it be a service writer or a porter or et cetera. So typically the process works, even back when I was running dealerships is, you know, you ran an ad in the paper, or now they say, the GM looks at the service director and run an ad with Indeed or Zip. The problem is we're not talking hours, we're talking days of getting somebody onboarded. By the time you get a hold
Mm,
of them and get them into you to interview them and then to fill out an application and then they go through a background check and then it's just a time deal, I would tell you, but I get back to those service bays and it in my head, I keep thinking they're really losing money by not having, I've had dealers call, they've got cars in the back. They can't get to them for 30, 45 days. It's one of those deals where it's a money deal. And if the people can come on board, service directors, GMs, principals, and understand that it's not an expenditure, because also had dealers like, we're not going to do a sign-up bonus. Like there's no game plan, if you will. And I think from a service side, it needs to be looked at the opposite of how we're going to onboard this guy. This guy's a bullet. This guy's been doing this for 10, 12 years. He's a
oh
certified
yeah,
Ford or Lincoln tech, and he wants to move to Montana. We're doing a deal in Montana right now where, country boys want to move up there and they're closed on the weekend and we're recruiting techs into Montana, a dealership in Montana. So
I
it's,
love Montana.
yeah, I've never been, but you could tell it's a good old boy network up there. So the hunting and fishing and beautiful, it sounds like, but it's,
Western Montana especially is just absolutely gorgeous.
I
Yeah.
may have to put that on my bucket list, but anyway, it gets back to the speed of understanding that they're losing revenue with empty bays. I read this article, like I said, they're losing up to $1,500 a day with an empty bay, depending on the
Yeah.
quality of the tech, A, B, or C. And I just think, and some of these dealers, they think, Sean, that just because you have an HR person, it gets handled. It does not. The process
No.
normally stops with these paper resumes. So
No.
I've also had
No.
dealers think like we're trying to take their job. We're trying to collaborate with them. We're trying to help them.
Right.
And we've got
Yeah.
many dealerships, dealer groups, if you will, where we're collaborating with them across the whole deal. So when we build these websites, they can put in there who they want to see the interviews, who they want to get push notifications. If it's separate departments, we can separate it. So it's one of those deals where, again, it gets back to speed. We've had dealerships also reach out to their account executive. Can you do me a favor? Can you get a hold of Joe Smith? I'm trying to get him in here. I like him. And that's
Yeah.
part of the services that we offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. That's the last question and we'll end on is a little bit more on that. The support that comes with your service. That kind of feels like partnership more than it feels like vendor relationship. Tell me a little bit more about that. How when they start using you guys, what should be the expectation on how you kind of are continuously helping them with results over time?
So what's happened is, we have a dealership in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Um, started using our services, and a real sharp group. And basically, I look at it like we provide a service just like everybody else does. And don't get me wrong, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, they do a good job. Okay. They do what they're supposed to do. They produce paper resumes. Okay.
Mhm.
But dealers get aggravated having to thumb through, and that's where it kind of stops. What I would tell you, I think one of the biggest things that we do, yes, the video, yes, built for speed, but we become their go-to. So most of our dealers, their website, they have it as their favorites. They pull it up. They can order campaigns. They know the pricing. We get it up within hours. They have flat rate pricing right there. Okay. They watch their candidates. They get dinged and push notifications. As soon as someone applies, they can watch their interviews right there, right now. Boom. You know, um, and then, the other thing too, typical campaign, they're going to get viable candidates, usually between 20 and 30 candidates in a 30-day time frame that have been vetted. That means maybe 50 to 60 have interviewed that have been vetted. So I think that, again, we're not wasting their time. But I would tell you the one single thing I'll go back to that I think sets us apart and what we do for the dealerships to kind of partnership, as you say, is the account executive. I think that nails it. And we have, right now we have 28 account executives, and they work remotely, but they handle usually, anywhere from 3 to 6 dealerships, if they will. And that's their deal. That's their job. And it's important to them. And I think the communication, I think that is the biggest difference, because and I know you get aggravated if the phone doesn't pick up or doesn't pick up at all, or so that's what I would tell you.
Yeah. I love that. I really love that account executive layer. Like I mentioned before, I think that when there's technology involved, there's usually probably a good reason for there to be a service layer to make sure that dealers get and can extract the highest level of value from these services that they can so obviously benefit from. John, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. To the audience, thanks for joining us in the shop. If you're ready to learn more or take the next step even with Staff Your Dealer, head to theshop.com. That's your go-to marketplace for Ford dealers and Lincoln retailers. We will be back, of course, with more episodes featuring the trusted partners who help you run smarter, drive growth, and stay ahead in a changing market. Until next time, thanks for spending some time with us. We'll see you back here soon in the shop.
Thank you, Sean.